do you enjoy embarrassing this family, serving eggs instead of doing something meaningful with your life? The words hit me like ice water as I stood behind the counter of Sunny's diner, coffee pot frozen in my hand. My mother, Vivian, had walked in unexpectedly while I was refilling cups for a group of high school teachers. Her designer heels clicked against the checkered floor as she approached, her face twisted with disgust at seeing me in my red and yellow apron. The entire diner went silent, every customer turned to stare. The teachers looked uncomfortable, shifting in their seats. I felt my cheeks burn with humiliation as whispers started from nearby tables. "Mom, please," I whispered, hoping to keep this quiet. But Vivian wasn't done. She pulled a business card from her purse and slammed it on the counter. "Career coach," she announced loudly, "since you clearly can't figure out your life alone." Then she turned on her heel and left, the bell chiming mockingly behind her. I stood there, 24 years old and feeling like a scolded child in front of everyone. My coworker Sam touched my shoulder gently. "You okay, honey?" I forced a smile through the tears threatening to spill. "Yeah, I'm used to it." But inside, something shattered. Her final words echoed in my mind, "Don't come home looking like this again." That evening, I walked into my parents' house to find a dinner party in full swing. The living room buzzed with lawyers, doctors, and other polished professionals. I had forgotten about Mom's monthly gathering where she showcased our family's success to her social circle. My younger brother Jeremy stood near the fireplace, gesturing animatedly as he described his tech startup to an impressed audience. Mom beamed beside him, her hand on his shoulder like he was her prized trophy. "This is my son Jeremy," she announced proudly. "He's launching his third company this year, Harvard MBA, our pride and joy." The guests nodded approvingly, murmuring about his brilliance and potential. Jeremy soaked up the attention, his chest puffed with confidence. Then Mom's eyes found me hovering near the kitchen doorway, still wearing my work clothes. The smile faltered slightly. "And this is my daughter," she said with forced lightness. "She's figuring things out." Polite laughter rippled through the room. I felt their judging eyes sweep over my uniform, my tired face, my general lack of achievement. Heat crept up my neck as I mumbled an excuse and slipped upstairs. From the landing, I heard Mom's voice drift up. "She's a disappointment I can't seem to fix." Lying in my childhood bedroom, I stared at the ceiling and remembered when things had been different. 3 years ago, I had been studying architecture at the State University. I loved designing buildings, sketching spaces where people could live and work and dream. But when tuition increased my junior year, I had asked Mom to co-sign a student loan. She had looked at my grades, my scattered focus, my tendency to change my mind about everything. "You're too unstable for this," she had said, setting down my transcripts. "Architecture is for people who can commit. You'll just waste more money and drop out anyway." Without her signature, I couldn't afford to continue. I had moved back home and taken the first job I could find waitressing at Sunny's diner on the highway outside town. Now, during slow moments at work, I still sketched building designs on napkins. Cafes with huge windows, libraries with reading nooks, homes with gardens. My secret dreams lived in those crumpled papers I threw away before anyone could see. But today, my manager Sam had spotted one of my drawings during my break. He picked up the napkin carefully, studying the detailed floor plan of a community center I had imagined. "You drew this?" he asked, amazed. "This is incredible. You're wasting your gift here, kiddo." His words stayed with me all evening. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a text from Mom while I was getting ready for work. "Don't come to Sunday dinner. Your father and I need space." I stared at the message, my coffee growing cold in my hand. Sunday dinners had been our family tradition for as long as I could remember. Even when we fought, even when things were tense, we always gathered around Mom's dining room table. But apparently, my existence was now too embarrassing for even that. At work, I discovered the gossip had spread beyond our house. Mrs. Henderson from our church stopped by for lunch and made pointed comments about young people these days who don't live up to their potential. Her daughter worked at the bank downtown and always wore suits. Later, my little cousins called during their lunch break from school. "Hey cuz," 8-year-old Tommy giggled into the phone. "Can we get fries with that?" His sister Lucy grabbed the phone. "Mom says you're the one who serves food now. That's so weird." I hung up, my hands shaking. Even children were mocking me now. The humiliation had spread through our entire extended family like a virus, infecting every relationship I had. My phone buzzed again, another text from Mom. "I hear people are talking, this needs to stop." But I didn't know how to make it stop. That night, I scrolled through social media and found fresh torture. Mom had posted new family photos from Jeremy's latest achievement dinner, him signing a partnership deal with some tech company. The pictures showed my parents beaming with pride, Jeremy holding his contract, our extended family celebrating. I wasn't in a single photo. The captions read, "Family First Red," and "So proud of our kids." Kids, plural, but only Jeremy appeared in the images. I had been erased from our family narrative completely. According to social media, I didn't exist. I was the daughter too embarrassing to acknowledge, too disappointing to include, too shameful to claim. I shut off my phone and cried in the diner's kitchen during my break, hiding behind the industrial freezer where no one could see. The tears fell onto the stainless steel prep counter, each drop echoing in the empty space. "You okay back there?" Sam's voice made me jump. I wiped my eyes quickly. "Fine, just tired." He studied my face carefully. "You know, kiddo, you have more family here than you think. The people who matter see who you really are." His kindness made me cry harder. At least someone thought I was worth caring about. The next afternoon, a regular customer lingered after finishing his coffee. Mr. Rodriguez was a city engineer who came in every Tuesday, always ordering the same thing and always leaving exact change. He was quiet, polite, and I had never really talked to him beyond taking his order. But today he approached the counter, holding one of my napkin sketches that had blown off my section during the lunch rush. "Excuse me," he said gently, "did you draw this?" My face burned. "I'm sorry, I know I shouldn't waste napkins, I'll pay for it." No, he said quickly. "This is remarkable, the proportions, the attention to detail. Are you studying architecture?" I shook my head embarrassed. "I used to, had to drop out." He studied the sketch again, then looked at me with new interest. "Do you have a portfolio, more drawings like this?" "Not really, I mean I have some old college work, but it's been years since I drew seriously." Mr. Rodriguez handed me his business card. "I'd love to see what else you can do. Maybe we could meet after your shift sometime. I might have some opportunities to discuss." I stared at the card, hardly believing this was real. "You mean it?" "Absolutely, talent like this shouldn't go to waste." The next evening, I met Mr. Rodriguez at a coffee shop downtown, bringing a folder of my old architecture projects from college. My hands shook as I spread the drawings across the small table, building designs, landscape plans, detailed sketches of impossible dream houses. He studied each piece carefully, nodding and asking thoughtful questions about my design choices. For the first time in years, someone was taking my work seriously. "These are exceptional," he said finally. "Have you ever considered finishing your degree? There are scholarships, part-time programs. With talent like this, you could have real opportunities." I felt something I hadn't experienced in so long I had forgotten what it was called. Hope. My whole body seemed to glow as we talked about possibilities, about programs that might work around my schedule, about a future where I could actually use my gifts. "I'd be happy to write you a recommendation," Mr. Rodriguez said as we packed up my drawings. "You deserve better than hiding your light under a bushel." I floated home that night, my mind spinning with possibilities. Maybe Mom was wrong about me. Maybe I wasn't a waste of space after all. But the next morning, that hope came crashing down. Mom stormed into the diner during the breakfast rush, her face red with fury. Several customers looked up from their meals as she marched to my station. "How dare you embarrass our family even more?" she hissed loud enough for everyone to hear. "Showing your little drawings to strangers like some charity case. Now people pity us." I froze, coffee pot in hand. "Mom, please, not here." "Oh, now you care about appearances," she laughed bitterly. "You've been humiliating us for months, and now you're begging for handouts from customers who feel sorry for you." The diner fell silent, every eye was on us. I felt the familiar burn of shame creeping up my neck. "He's a respected engineer," I whispered. "He just wanted to help." "By making us look like we can't take care of our own daughter, by advertising that you're a failure who needs rescuing." Her voice grew louder with each word. "Stop clinging to failed dreams and accept your place." That's when I broke. Years of criticism, months of humiliation, the constant weight of never being good enough, it all came crashing down. I burst into tears and ran outside, leaving my apron on the ground. Behind me I heard someone say, "That poor girl," but I was too mortified to care about sympathy anymore. I woke up the next morning to my phone buzzing non-stop. Confused and groggy, I checked the notifications and nearly dropped the device. A customer had recorded yesterday's confrontation and posted it on TikTok. The video showed Mom screaming at me while I stood there crying, and it was going viral. The caption read, "Mom humiliates her daughter for working an honest job. This is heartbreaking." The comments were overwhelming. Thousands of people defending me, sharing their own stories of family rejection, expressing outrage at how Mom had treated me. Some offered job opportunities, others shared resources for getting back into school. By the time I got to work, the diner was packed with people who recognized me from the video. Some wanted to show support, others were just curious, but everyone was talking about it. Sam pulled me aside, grinning. "Kid, you're famous, and you know what? The owner wants to promote you. People are driving from 3 towns over just to meet you." My phone kept buzzing. Messages from strangers offering encouragement, from organizations wanting to help, from news outlets requesting interviews. The video had been shared over 1 million times. But it also meant Mom's humiliation was public now. Her friends, her colleagues, everyone she knew had seen her screaming at me in a diner. Mom called that afternoon, her voice shaking with rage. "You set me up. You planned this whole thing to make me look bad." "I didn't do anything," I said, exhausted. "Someone just recorded what happened." "You're ruining our reputation. People at my office are asking me about it. Your father's firm is getting calls. You need to make this stop." "How am I supposed to do that?" "Tell people it was a misunderstanding. Say we reconciled. Fix this mess you created." I took a deep breath. "Mom, I didn't create this mess. You did. The day you chose caring about appearances over caring about your daughter." The line went quiet for a long moment, then her voice came back, colder than ice. "Don't you dare blame me for your failures. You brought this on yourself. By working an honest job, by trying to pay my bills, by having dreams you decided weren't good enough. By embarrassing this family every single day." The words hung between us like a slap. Finally, I found my voice. "You know what? You're right. I'm embarrassing. I'm embarrassing because I'm your daughter and you raised me to believe I was worthless. How dare you?" I hung up, my whole body shaking. The next day, Mom showed up at the diner again, but this time she had a different strategy. Instead of screaming, she grabbed my arm and spoke in a low, threatening voice. "You will not use our family name in any interviews. You will not talk to reporters about us. You will stop this circus right now." I pulled free from her grip. "Or what? Or you'll find out what real consequences look like." That's when she raised her hand and slapped me across the face. Hard, the sound echoed through the diner like a gunshot. Every customer turned to stare. Several people pulled out their phones. The humiliation was complete, but this time it wasn't mine to carry. Sam rushed over immediately. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave, now." Mom looked around at all the shocked faces, at the phones recording her, at the mess she had just made. Without another word, she turned and left. I stood there, my cheek burning, tears streaming down my face. But for the first time I wasn't crying from shame. I was crying from relief. "You okay, honey?" Sam asked gently. I nodded, touching my face. "Yeah, I think I finally am." That evening, my co-workers showed up at my apartment with food and movies. Sam brought ice cream, Maria brought homemade soup, and Jake brought terrible jokes that actually made me laugh. "You've got us," Sam said as we sat on my couch eating pizza. "Blood doesn't make family, love does." I looked around at these people who had stood by me, who had witnessed my humiliation and stayed anyway, who cared about me just as I was. They were right. This was family. My phone buzzed with a text from Jeremy. "Saw the video, are you okay?" I stared at the message for a long time before responding. "I'm fine, thanks for asking." "Mom's really upset, maybe you could call her." "She slapped me on camera, Jeremy. I think we're past phone calls." "She's still our mother." "She stopped being my mother the day she decided I was too embarrassing to love." He didn't respond after that. I turned off my phone and focused on the people who actually cared about me, sitting in my living room, making me feel less alone. "Tomorrow's a new day," Maria said softly, "and you're going to be just fine." For the first time in months, I believed her. 2 weeks later, I was closing the diner alone on a rainy Tuesday night when I heard the screech of tires outside. Through the window, I saw a truck sliding sideways on the wet pavement, crashing into the parking lot and clipping a small sedan. The car caught fire immediately. I ran outside without thinking, my heart pounding as I saw movement in the back seat of the burning vehicle. A child was trapped inside, crying and banging on the window. The front doors were jammed from the impact. Smoke was getting thicker. I grabbed a rock from the landscaping and smashed the back window, ignoring the glass cutting my arms. "I've got you," I shouted to the little boy inside. He couldn't have been more than 6 years old, terrified and coughing from the smoke. I pulled off my jacket and wrapped it around him, lifting him out of the car just as the flames spread to the back seat. We were barely 20 feet away when the gas tank exploded, the force knocking us both to the ground. Everything went black. I woke up in the hospital 3 days later, confused and disoriented. My arms were bandaged, my head was pounding, and there were flowers everywhere. "You're awake," a nurse smiled at me. "You've been quite the celebrity while you were out." "What happened?" "You saved that little boy's life. The whole thing was caught on the diner's security camera. You're all over the news, honey. A real hero." Through the window, I could see reporters gathered in the parking lot. My phone had hundreds of missed calls and messages. The story had gone national, the viral diner girl who risked her life to save a child. The nurse handed me a tablet showing news coverage. There I was on every major channel, unconscious on a stretcher, being called brave and selfless and heroic. "The boy's family has been here every day," she said. "His mother wants to thank you when you're feeling better." I stared at the screen, hardly believing what I was seeing. After years of being called a disappointment, the whole world was calling me a hero. My phone rang. The caller ID showed Mom's number. "Honey, we're so proud of you." Mom's voice was bright and cheerful, like nothing had ever happened between us. "The whole town is talking about how brave you are." I held the phone away from my ear, staring at it in disbelief. After months of silence, after slapping me on camera, after telling me I was an embarrassment, now she was proud. "You didn't even know I was in the hospital," I said quietly. "What, of course we knew, we've been worried sick." "I've been here 3 days, Mom, 3 days." The line went quiet for a moment. "Well, we were giving you space to recover, but we're so excited to see you. When can we visit?" "You want to visit now, after telling me not to come home, after humiliating me in public, after hitting me." "That's all in the past, sweetie. What matters is how proud we are now. The whole family wants to celebrate with you." I looked at the flowers from my coworkers, at the cards from strangers who had been inspired by my story, at the genuine love surrounding me from people who had never asked me to be anything other than myself. "I have to go," I said. "But honey, we want to plan a family celebration." I hung up. Mom showed up at the hospital the next morning anyway, bringing an enormous flower arrangement and a camera crew from the local news station. "Surprise," she announced as she swept into my room. "We're here for a family reunion." The reporter looked uncomfortable. "Ma'am, we discussed that this was just supposed to be an interview with your daughter about her heroic act." "Of course, and what better way to show her support system than with family?" Mom positioned herself next to my bed, smiling broadly for the camera. I pressed the call button for the nurse. When she appeared, I spoke clearly and calmly. "I need security, please. This woman is not welcome here." Mom's smile faltered. "Honey, what are you talking about? It's me, your mother." "I don't know this woman," I said to the nurse. "She's been harassing me. I need her removed." The reporter's eyes widened as he realized he was witnessing drama instead of a feel-good story. The cameraman kept rolling as security arrived to escort Mom out. "You can't do this to me," she shouted as they led her away. "I'm your mother. I raised you." "You raised me to believe I was worthless," I called after her. "Now the whole world can see who you really are." By evening, the hospital confrontation was all over social media. Mom had made it worse by going on Facebook Live afterward, trying to explain her side of the story. "There's been a misunderstanding," she said to her phone camera, sitting in her car in the hospital parking lot. My daughter is confused from her injuries. We have a wonderful relationship. I've always supported her dreams. The comments exploded immediately. People shared the original Dinah video, the slapping incident, screenshots of her old social media posts where I had been deliberately excluded. The contrast between her words and her actions was undeniable. Stop lying, one commenter wrote. We all saw how you treated her. This woman is delusional, another added. Own up to your mistakes. Within hours, the video had been taken down, but not before it was saved and shared thousands of times. Mom's attempt to rewrite history had backfired completely. My phone rang. It was the diner owner, Mr. Patterson. Hey kiddo, how are you feeling? Better, thanks, ready to get back to work soon. Actually, that's why I'm calling. The city wants to give you a Community Hero Award. Big ceremony, televised and everything. They asked me to check if you're interested. A month ago, I would have been terrified of that kind of attention. Now, after everything I'd been through, it felt like validation. I'd be honored, I said. Sam and Maria came to help me pick out something to wear for the ceremony. We went to a simple department store and found a navy blue dress that made me feel confident but comfortable. You don't need to be anyone but yourself, Sam said as I tried it on. That's who they're honoring. What if I mess up the speech? Impossible, Maria laughed. You're going to be perfect because you're going to be real. Back at my apartment, I practiced what I might say if they asked me to speak. I thought about the journey from that first humiliating day at the diner to this moment, about learning the difference between people who love you conditionally and people who love you completely. My phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. Ms. Carter, this is Rebecca Adams from your mother's PR firm. We'd like to discuss your upcoming ceremony. I'm sorry, what? Your mother has hired us to help manage the family's public image during this difficult time. We think it would be beneficial for both of you if she could attend the ceremony beside you. Show that you've reconciled. I couldn't help but laugh. Let me guess, she's paying you to clean up the mess she made. We just think. Tell my mother that some things can't be fixed with better publicity. I hung up, shaking my head. Even now she was trying to use my moment for her own benefit. The morning of the ceremony, I got ready quietly in my apartment. The navy dress fit perfectly, and for the first time in years I looked in the mirror and liked what I saw, not because I looked glamorous or impressive, but because I looked like myself. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. I know we've had our differences, but I hope you'll let me stand by you today. I want to make things right. I stared at the message for a long time before responding. You only want to stand by me when cameras are rolling. 3 hours later, I arrived at the community center where the ceremony was being held. The parking lot was full of news vans and reporters. This was bigger than I had expected. As I walked toward the entrance, I saw a familiar figure in designer clothes talking to journalists near the front door. Mom had shown up anyway, uninvited, making herself the center of attention. She spotted me and waved enthusiastically, as if we were the best of friends. Several cameras turned my way. There she is, Mom called out, my brave daughter. I walked past her without acknowledgement and went inside to find the event coordinators. The ceremony was beautiful. The mayor spoke about community heroes, local business owners shared stories about my character, and the boy I had saved presented me with a handmade card that made me cry happy tears. When they called me to the podium to accept the award, I looked out at the audience. Sam and Maria beamed from the front row. Mr. Rodriguez was there, along with many of my regular customers from the diner. People who had known me before I was famous, who cared about me when I was just a waitress with big dreams. The host handed me the microphone. We'd love to hear from you about your heroic act, and about the family who shaped you into the person you are today. Before I could speak, Mom appeared from the wings, somehow having talked her way backstage. She grabbed the microphone with a practiced smile. Thank you so much, she said to the audience. As her mother, I'm so proud. We raised her to be strong, to help others, to never give up. I gently took the microphone back, my voice calm but clear. No, I said simply. I became strong because I had to. The audience went completely silent. You could hear a pin drop in that packed auditorium. I learned to help others because I know what it feels like to need help and not get it. I learned to never give up because giving up was the only thing I was ever encouraged to do. The clip of my response went viral within hours. I became strong because I had to, became a rallying cry for people who had overcome difficult family situations. The video got millions of views, thousands of shares, and comments from people sharing their own stories of rising above those who should have supported them. Media outlets picked up the story, brands reached out with sponsorship offers, and most importantly, the State Architecture Foundation called to offer me a full scholarship to complete my degree. "We've been following your story," the director told me over the phone. "Your talent, your perseverance, your character, these are exactly the qualities we look for in our scholarship recipients." I cried when I hung up. After years of being told my dreams were impossible, someone was investing in them. Jeremy texted me that evening. "Mom's furious about the ceremony. She says you made her look bad on purpose." "I just told the truth," I replied. "I know, and I'm proud of you for it. I should have stood up for you years ago." It was the first real apology I had gotten from anyone in my family. Too little, too late, but I appreciated the gesture. I enrolled in the architecture program part-time while continuing to work at the diner. The scholarship covered tuition, and I had saved enough from my sudden fame to reduce my hours and focus on studying. For the first time in years, I was drawing again. Real blueprints, serious designs, buildings that could actually be constructed. My professors were impressed with my portfolio and my dedication. "You have a natural gift for creating spaces where people feel safe," one instructor told me. "That's rarer than you might think." Mom sent me one final message a few weeks into the semester. "I hope you're happy embarrassing us further. Your father's firm lost clients because of your little stunt." I read it, then deleted it without responding. Some conversations aren't worth having. Instead, I focused on my studies, my work, and the genuine relationships I had built. The people who mattered had always seen my worth. The people who didn't weren't my problem anymore. 6 months later, I got a call that changed everything again. The mother of the boy I had saved wanted to meet me. "Tyler talks about you every day," she said when we met at a coffee shop downtown. "He calls you his angel. He's been asking to see you since the accident." We arranged a meeting at their house the following weekend. When I arrived, Tyler ran to the door and hugged my legs tight. "You saved me," he said, grinning up at me. "Mommy said you were brave." His mother, tears in her eyes, pulled me aside. "I don't know how to thank you. You gave me my son back. I'll never forget your face that night, how you didn't hesitate for even a second." The local news covered our reunion, showing Tyler showing me his room, his toys, his drawings of firefighters and heroes. At the end of the segment, the reporter asked if I had any message for my family. I thought about it for a moment, then smiled. "Tell them I'm doing what they never could, feeding people's souls." With my scholarship money and savings from various appearances and sponsorships, I made a decision that would have seemed impossible 2 years earlier. I bought Sonny's Diner when Mr. Patterson decided to retire. I renamed it the Haven Cafe and turned it into something special. A place where young people with nowhere to go could find work, where people down on their luck could get a free meal, where dreamers could sketch their futures on napkins without judgment. I hired teenagers agging out of foster care, college dropouts trying to find their way, single mothers juggling school and work, people like I had been talented, determined but lacking support. The cafe thrived. Food bloggers wrote about our community atmosphere, news outlets covered our charitable programs, and architecture magazines featured the renovation I had designed myself. Most importantly, it became a place where people felt valued for who they were, not what they achieved or what family they came from. 1 year after the ceremony, I was hanging my latest architectural drawings on the cafe wall when a familiar figure appeared outside the window. Mom stood on the sidewalk, watching as customers lined up to get into my restaurant. She didn't come inside. She just stood there for a few minutes, looking at the success I had built without her, at the life I had created from the ashes of her disappointment. Our eyes met through the glass. I didn't wave or gesture. I just looked at her with the calm confidence I had earned through years of proving her wrong. She turned and walked away. I went back to hanging my drawings, blueprints for a community center, plans for affordable housing, designs for spaces where people could heal and grow and dream. Sunlight poured through the windows I had expanded, warming the room full of people who believed in each other. Looking good, boss, Sam called from behind the counter, where he now worked as my manager. I stepped back to admire the wall of sketches, each one representing a future I was building not just for myself, but for everyone who had ever been told they weren't good enough. I'm not an embarrassment, I whispered to myself, the words I had needed to hear for so long. I'm enough.